You know, I will tell you right up front, I'm not going to talk at all about pharma. I'm not going to talk about devices. I'm not going to show you any molecules. First of all, I couldn't. But I think what I'm going to show you is something that I think has application to everyone in this room, which is the innovations in the system and in the market that every one of those new molecules and new devices is going to have to be playing in. And I'd like to look at it from the Academy's standpoint. In other words, if you will, from the 50,000-foot viewpoint as it pertains to the profession. And I'm going to talk just briefly about three of them. And in the B2B world, I'm going to talk about V2V, which is volume to value, which you've heard something about so far. Anecdotes to analytics, and patients to populations. These, from my perspective, are the three biggest innovative trends in the profession of ophthalmology. Now, I'm going to start here with a definition of what is value. A lot of people use quality over cost. From the federal government's perspective and from the commercial payer's perspective, it's outcomes achieved per dollar spent. It's a slightly more rigorous definition. And I'd ask you this right away. If you look at that definition, you see the quality is on the top. And the big issue is, are we really measuring the right stuff? Are we measuring quality right? And I'd ask you, which is the most important factor if you're going to have surgery? Is it judgment as to whether to operate or not? Is it which procedure the surgeon should perform, the technical skill involved, or whether guidelines are followed for antimicrobial prophylaxis? Well, the only one that you would, I bet no one voted for, is the only one we actually measure for right now in payment, which is antimicrobial prophylaxis. So in the past, the system basically has not measured the right stuff. You've heard probably something about MACRA. MACRA is the new payment system that not only will govern all of fee-for-service Medicare starting January 1, but similar systems are going to be put in place in the commercial space as well. And it's going to affect physicians and hospitals and ambulatory surgery centers. Goes into effect January 1. The scary thing is we still haven't seen the rules. We've seen preliminary rules. The finals are supposed to be released this week. So the point is, the entire profession, your customer base, is going to be paid on a system that they really haven't seen yet, and it's going to take effect in 8 weeks. The impact for industry, I think, is pretty obvious, because within 3 years, 30% of each ophthalmologist's individual score, and Medicare is going to be giving every ophthalmologist an individual score on which their payment will be based, is going to be based on total cost. And if you look right now at the data, the only thing that really counts as a cost differentiator in cataract surgery is where it's done, in an ambulatory surgery center or a hospital outpatient department. For retina, the only thing that really counts as a differentiator is the choice of anti-VEGF agent. And so right now, those things are going to loom more and more important in the market, because this is going to lead to a 9% delta in terms of total payment to the physician, and there'll be a similar sort of application at the facility side. Now let me turn to A, which is the Anecdotes to Analytics. I spoke here last year about IRIS, the new Academy Clinical Data Registry. What I'd like to show you now is how fast that's grown and what the implications are. We now have over 100 million visits in this registry. It is the largest specialty clinical data registry in the world in any specialty in just over 2 years. Why has it been so successful? One of the things is it saves the ophthalmologist in the United States a tremendous amount of money. If you look at that number in red, that's the estimated amount saved in 2015, and it costs the ophthalmologist nothing to participate. So it's basically an infinite ROI. For industry, this is a tremendous way to measure value, new knowledge generation, in basically mining this fantastically rich database. in everything from rare diseases to natural history to treatment impacts. And these are some of the numbers we have off it. And this is just over a 2-year period of time. Look at the number of cataracts, almost 4 million. If you look in the retina space, 4.5 million intravitreal injections. The amount of data that's in there is fantastic. The last that I'll mention very briefly is patients to populations. The Academy has been working very hard at rebranding the profession and focusing beyond the patient to populations of patients. This you've seen is the new logo, and I ask you to look at the tagline. The old tagline used to be the IMD Association. The new one is really not what we as ophthalmologists are, but the impact of what we do. Very similar to what a lot of you have in your own corporate websites. We've been focusing on reaching the public. This is our patient-facing website is now up to 3 million per quarter. And then we're focusing on storytelling, really getting down to the individual patient. Last slide, what you see here is a report that came out from the National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine in September. This report is something that I think all of you should go and take a look at from the National Academy website. It's really going to be a blueprint for policy and regulation in the future in the eye care space. Thank you.